Hey everyone! So in this video, I want to go over some of my favorite business books. Now, I did not go to business school. I wish I had, but I had no idea that I was going to go into entrepreneurship and start a huge business online with online courses and consulting. I had no idea that was coming in my life. And so I learned everything from books. My entire business education has come from online classes and books. And so today I wanted to share some of the books that really helped me in my business thinking as an entrepreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're dabbling in entrepreneurship, you want to think more like a business person, here are the books that really helped me in my business that I use practically almost every day or every week in my business. All right, the very first one is Smartcuts by Shane Snow. So this book is incredible. I also love Shane Snow. I got to meet him after I read this book. There's an interview that we have with him. What I love about this book is it's smart cuts, not shortcuts. So one of the hardest things about entrepreneurship is you often wear many hats. You're doing accounting, you're doing HR, you're doing marketing. In my case, I'll do content creation and teaching and SEO. And now, thank goodness, we have a team. But in the beginning, I was doing everything. So I started my company in 2007, and I was editing YouTube videos, writing the YouTube videos, publishing the blog posts, doing the marketing, doing the speaking, doing my accounting, doing the books. I was doing it all. So now, thank goodness, we have help with all those things. But this helped me think more strategically about my time. It allowed me to think about what are some smart cuts that I can take that other amazing people have used in their own business that I can use too. So the subtitle for this is How Hackers, Innovators, and Icons Accelerate Success. This is all about working smarter, not harder, working faster and better. Love Shane Snow's work. All right. Next one. This is a quintessential business book, Influence by Robert Cialdini. So if you're doing any kind of marketing, if you're talking to customers, and I would argue almost every company has to do some kind of marketing, this is an incredible book on the psychology of how we think, the psychology of how we're influenced. This was how I began doing all of my initial outreach to customers, how I began to write blog posts, how I began to frame some of our products in our webinars. And thank goodness, because of this book, I felt like I was able to get 3 semesters of marketing research in one book. So it's an incredibly powerful book. And if you haven't gone to business school, I think it's at least a little bit of a course, a little mini crash course in marketing and psychology. All right, next one, I'm gonna do sciencey, super sciencey. Are you ready? Okay, so I love science. This is your brain and business. If you are thinking about leadership, if you're thinking about team management, if you are thinking about burnout, this is by Srinivsan Pillay, who's an incredible neuroscientist. This book is so incredibly filled with research, it blew my mind. I highlighted almost every single line of the book. I mean, I have stars and notes on every page. It is chock full of science and so incredibly helpful. The reason why I love this book is it's not guesswork. Everything that he says in this book is based in science, neuroscience. And so I found it incredibly helpful to know what is actually happening in our brain and how can we use that information to be better leaders. So if you like science, I highly recommend this one. All right. The fun side of science. So I picked these side by side. I wanted to see these side by side. This is the super science heavy one, very into brain research. Nir Eyal is also a good friend of mine. I did a number of webinars with him. He also uses great brain science, but in a very applicable framework. So Hooked, in my opinion, I did all these in order, is sort of the modern day version of Influence. So I read Influence first. I highly recommend it. It's sort of the basic psychological principles. Hooked is sort of the modern day next step. It's how to build habit forming products. So if you want to really get people hooked, if you really want to build loyal fans and avid customers, I highly recommend Nir's framework. I found it incredibly helpful. And I've also interviewed him a number of times on our YouTube channel. You've seen how just incredibly thoughtful he is. And so he takes science and uses it in a really modern way. Okay, this is an oldie but goodie. This is one of the very first business books I ever read, and it's called Made to Stick. The reason why I love this book, this is by Chip and Dan Heath, the Heath brothers, is because a lot of my business in the beginning, I struggled with having vitamins versus painkillers. What I mean by that is I was writing a lot of vitamin content. Vitamin content is, it's good for you. You should take it. But it wasn't urgent. It wasn't sticky. versus painkiller content, which is like taking an aspirin or a Tylenol. People want that right away. They'll do anything to get that painkiller content. Made to Stick is the first time I realized that I had to make my content stickier to actually help people. When I do these videos, I'm trying to inspire you in some way. I'm trying to teach in some way. And so with Made to Stick, he taught me that to be able to get my ideas to help people, I have to make them stickier. I have to present them in a really sexy, interesting way. So this is the first time I learned how to present my ideas in a really sticky way. So if you're thinking about pitching or trying to get people to adopt a new behavior, this is a really, really great one to read and super fun to read. Last one is a Seth Godin book. I mean, I love Seth Godin. I love everything he's written, but for entrepreneurs specifically, I would recommend this book. So for all the books he's written, and there's so many good ones, Purple Cow, Permission Marketing, this is the one I like for entrepreneurs because it's about building tribes. It's about building your community. It's a tiny little book. It's a really easy read. And it's basically how to build your following in an authentic, real way. So it's tribes. We need you to lead us. So if you want to find your people, even if it's a small group of people, this is a really beautiful book on how to create that community for yourself. So those are some of my favorite business books. I think that you can learn so much from them, especially if you're willing to have a kind of experimental attitude to try lots of different things. I hope they help. I'm going to keep adding books to this list on my blog, so be sure to check that out. And I would love to hear your favorite business books below in the comments. I always, if I hear a recommendation for a book more than 3 times, I have to read it. It's a rule I have for myself. So if there's a book that gets recommended more than 3 times in the comments, I will go and read it. All right, I can't wait to hear your suggestions.